Following on from last year, over the course of 2021 I decided to continue what I started and make a list of everything that I watched for the first time over the year. It's been yet another wild and uncertain year, meaning that in the midst of my studies and freelance work, I've been able to watch a lot of films and episodes of series, so I thought it would be fun to create this video to look back at everything. Over this year I watched exactly 99 films, which have all been logged on Letterboxd. It's worth mentioning that in the mix are 7 documentaries and 6 stand-up comedy specials, however they are all feature length, so I've decided to include them all in this list, but I'll not be ranking the stand-up comedy specials as they're not really comparable. These rankings are based solely on my experiences with each film, and that some films lower down the list are indeed better overall films than films above them. I just personally enjoyed others slightly more. For the sake of time, I'll show the rankings for all the films counting down to the top 15, and then give some quick thoughts on my favourites this year. So without further ado, here we go. Number 15, The Meyerowitz Stories. With an episodic structure, perfect comedic timing, and the infamously good dialogue from Noah Baumbach, this is one of my unexpected surprises of the year. Number 14, The Father. Even for an actor as notoriously brilliant as Anthony Hopkins, this is a once-in-a-lifetime performance fully deserving of the Oscar for Best Actor. It's a really tough watch at times, but it's so worth it. Number 13, Judas and the Black Messiah. This is my new favourite biopic. It's beyond impressive how the story of Fred Hampton is truthfully conveyed, while all the time this underlying plot of betrayal and conception is weaving throughout until it all culminates in an explosive and devastating ending. Number 12, Hurt Locker. Incredible performances all around, particularly by Jeremy Renner. Hurt Locker masterfully manages to balance tension and suspense. Number 11, Beautiful Boy. Arguably Timothée Chalamet's best performance. Both him and Steve Carell make their Bond feel so visceral and real, it's so easy to forget that this is a film at times, it feels incredibly personal. Number 10, The Many Saints of Newark. As a new prequel film to The Sopranos, I watched this just before delving into binge watching all of the show, and I was blown away by how well this works as a standalone piece, while having performances and twists that equal the series. Number 9, The Mitchells vs. the Machines. Lord and Miller are quickly becoming some of the most reputable names in animation, and a Sony Animation's ace in the hole. Everything is dialed up to 11 in this film, particularly the self-aware comedy and action. The animation style is perfectly used to exaggerate every tiny detail to its maximum potential. Number 8, No Time to Die. If it wasn't for a slightly convoluted antagonist, No Time to Die would easily be Daniel Craig's best Bond film, so that mantle stays with Skyfall. But with that said, No Time to Die is easily one of the most satisfying and on-brand Bond films ever. The action is incredibly well done and choreographed, and surprisingly also packs some really emotional beats as well. Number 7, The Suicide Squad. After being burned from 2016's Suicide Squad disaster, I was cautiously optimistic for this soft reboot sequel, and was absolutely blown away. Similarly to Into the Spider-Verse, watching this film feels like watching a visual comic book come to life. The character development is incredibly well done, and it perfectly walks a line between being over-the-top insane while also being quite down-to-earth. Number 6, Dune. Watching Dune on opening day in the IMAX was without a doubt one of the best cinema experiences that I've ever had. From the cinematography to the sound design to the combination of both practical and visual effects, this film felt like the perfect masterclass in world building. Denis Villeneuve never disappoints. Number 5, Heat. Heat had been on my radar for the last few years, and I now can't recommend it enough to anyone. It's a remarkable feat to have the audience rooting for both sides of the narrative, perfectly encapsulated in Al Pacino and Robert De Niro's performances. Number 4, Spider-Man No Way Home. I could speak on this film for hours on end, but to summarise it, I can't believe how well executed No Way Home is. It lived up to and surpassed the monumental global hype surrounding this film, and funnily enough retroactively manages to improve and give closure to the 7 previous Spider-Man films before it. It's also worth mentioning that the acting in this is hands down some of the best in the MCU, and even some of the best overall acting this year. Number 3, Inside. Bo Burnham is a genius. Inside is definitely my most rewatched film this year, and for good reason. It is genuinely baffling that Inside exists, and how deeply relatable it is after coming out of the pandemic. Albeit satirical, it also feels incredibly raw at times, and the music is beyond amazing too. Number 2, Castaway. I'd known about Castaway for the majority of my life, seeing references to it in pop culture over the years, but this was the first time I finally got around to sit down and watch it. The simplicity of the narrative is so poignant, it's hard to really summarise. Tom Hanks' performance and desperation creates a palpable sense of longing, which is perfectly translated and mirrored through the scoring by Alan Silvestri. And at number 1 we have Sound of Metal. I've never before experienced a film where the power of editing and sound design is so paramount to the success of the film itself. It's so impeccably and intricately done that the audience is enabled to connect with Riz Ahmed's character on a far deeper level. Speaking of which, this is one of my favourite performances of all time, with unbelievable range throughout. This was my personal favourite to win Best Picture at the Oscars, however I'm so glad it rightfully won the awards for Best Editing and Best Sound. I can't recommend this one enough, please go and check it out now, you honestly won't regret it. And to take the total up to 99, I also watched 6 stand-up comedy specials over the year, particularly over summer while working on quite a lot of post-production editing work. These were 3 specials by John Mulaney, New in Town, Kid Gorgeous and Comeback Kid, John Bishop Live, Jim Jeffries Bear, and Bill Burr's Paper Tiger. Again, these are all really hard to rank as they're also vastly different in styles, however the 3 John Mulaney specials in particular were amazing. He's quickly becoming one of my favourite stand-up comedians of all time. Lastly, I ended up watching way more series than I would normally do in a year. I watched all seasons of Breaking Bad, rewatched all seasons of Game of Thrones, the first season of Better Call Saul, Rick and Morty Season 5, and the first season of The Bad Batch. Also, I watched all 5 new Disney Plus Marvel series, which were WandaVision, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, and Hawkeye, as well as currently binging through The Sopranos. Of all these series, each had their own amazing standout episodes and moments, however the ones that really blow me away are Breaking Bad, The Bad Batch, Hawkeye, and The Sopranos. And there we go. It's been a lot of fun watching through everything this year, and I've definitely discovered some of my new favourite films of all time too. As for the films that were released this year especially, it's been a remarkably strong year for the film industry, bouncing back after the pandemic. I've personally loved being able to go back to the cinema so much more often again. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be carrying on this yearly tradition now, so I guess I'll see you at the end of next year for everything I've watched in 2022. Thanks.